All right, for this 90 Sports Nostalgia video, I want to talk about the top 5 national championship games in college football that took place during the 90s. Now, there are only 5 of these games. Now, first of all, I just want to talk about that prior to 1995, you had conference champions who would tie in with certain bowl games. For instance, the SEC champion would go to the Sugar Bowl, and then the Big 8 champion would go to the Orange Bowl, and so forth. So in 1995, there was a bowl in the Alliance, basically the Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl. They wouldn't really have their conference allegiances anymore. So basically what happened is they rotate every year, and basically to host the number 1 versus number 2 teams. So essentially that's what happened from 95-97. They only got the number 1 and number 2 teams only one time. That was in 1995, because in 96 Arizona State was number 2, and then 1997 Michigan was number 1. They still, and the Rose Bowl still wanted their ties with the Pac-10 and the Big Ten. But anyways, enough of that. Let's start off. Starting off at number 5, we'll go ahead with the 1995 season with Florida and Nebraska. Now Nebraska was number 1, Florida was number 2. And Florida, they took a lead early in the first quarter in this game, but in Nebraska, they scored 29 points in the second quarter. And being a Florida Gators fan, I couldn't stand this game. This game sucked. Nebraska, they went on and just destroyed Florida. Steve Spurrier, Mike Martz, they had this thing where they like to keep doing 7-step drops even though the quarterback's getting killed and nothing's really working. And that happened with Wuerffel as he got destroyed when Nebraska splits in defense. And Nebraska, they just went on. They destroyed Florida. Tommie Frazier had an iconic run, and that's about it. So that's all I got to say about that game. Number 4, during the 1998 season, Florida State and Tennessee. Now, this is a Fiesta Bowl, and help me with this because I don't know what it is, but this game just seems so sluggish, so rugged, and I don't really know exactly what it was. I mean, Peerless Price, he had a couple of nice catches, big-time catches. And I know Florida State was playing with a third-string quarterback. I love sports in the 90s, but this game, the more this game went on, my interest went down. And when Tennessee went up 20-9, it seemed like, okay, that's the game, because with the way Florida State's offense is working, there's no way they're going to come back and win this game. But comment below, because I don't know what it was about this game. It just seems so rugged and just something about the flow. But anyways, that was number 4, the 1998 season with Florida State and Tennessee. All right, so for number 3, the 1992 season with Alabama, Miami. And this game was something else. Now, coming into the game, this was when Miami was Miami. They had a big winning streak, I think 29 games. And they're in the 1991 champions. They're playing the Sugar Bowl. Alabama just kind of barely beat Florida in the SEC championship game. It was the inaugural SEC championship game. I can't say that word. But anyways, come to this game, Miami, they were talking their smack, how they're going to destroy Alabama, how they're not all that good. In Alabama, I don't know what it was. Miami had a tremendous rush defense, a tremendous linebacker unit, but for some reason, Alabama, they ran for well over 200 yards in this game, and it was something. George Teague, the safety for Alabama, he played out of his mind. He made some incredible plays, and Alabama, they did nothing through the air, but they just dominated this game. Gino Toretta, who was the 1992 Heisman Trophy winner for Miami, he went ahead and he was just confused. He didn't play well during this game. And this was just an incredible game throughout the game. The only touchdown Alabama gave up, it was on a punt return. And the only thing I got to say is, I think there was probably a moment where, people think, okay, Miami's going to come back with that offense. Miami's going to come back and make a run. But it just never happened in Alabama. They went on and just dominated Miami and won this game. And just throughout, I think it was just an amazing game. And perhaps my number 4, number 3 people might disagree about. All right, number 2, the 1999 season. This was the Sugar Bowl between Virginia Tech and Florida State. Now, when you talk about highlight reels of certain college players, not on top of the list, because there's players like Barry Sanders and even more modern like Lamar Jackson. But talk about some of the top highlight reels in college football history of certain players. Peter Warrick and Michael Vick. They have to be somewhere near the top of the list. And these two players that got together, and it was a fantastic. I know the score doesn't indicate that. I thought it was a very exciting Sugar Bowl. Florida State, they went up 28-14 at halftime. In the third quarter, Virginia Tech, they scored 15 points to make it 29-28 in the favor. And the Florida State, I think it was the next possession. Virginia Tech, they tried blitzing, but Florida State, they went to more quicker passing game. They got a touchdown, and Virginia Tech, they could never score again, so that's my number 2 game. All right, for number 1, the #1 national championship game in the 90s. This took place during the 1993 season between Florida State and Nebraska. Now, there was also an interesting situation with Notre Dame because Notre Dame beat Florida State this year. Now, Nebraska, they haven't lost, but Florida State and Notre Dame, they each had one loss. So possibly, if Florida State beat Nebraska, Notre Dame might get some votes because there wasn't the line system with BCS at this time. Excuse me, I didn't mention earlier, the BCS started in 1998. But anyways, there is a possibility that Notre Dame could become national champions, depending how the voters wanted to go. But anyways, Florida State wound up being national champions. And during this game, I liked it. There was some hitting. I mean, Nebraska just played tremendous. Tom Osborne teams, they played great defense. They're great at tackling. They're great at blitzing. They just played really well on defense. I think really the game started rolling kind of in the second quarter. Florida State, I believe they got a field goal right before halftime, but Nebraska had a lead at halftime 7-6, and the game really started to get rolling. So I'm going to fast forward here. About with a minute left to go, Nebraska, they had a first goal about at the 4-yard line. And Bobby Bowden did a good job using his timeouts, used a couple timeouts just in case they have some extra time back for their offense. But anyways, Nebraska, they kicked a field goal. They went up 16-15. Florida State had a minute left. Charlie Ward, he completed, I think, a couple passes to Ward Dunn. There was a late hit out of bounds, Nebraska, very uncharacteristic of them. And there was also pass interference. Now, here's the thing. Florida State, they also had a first and goal, but Florida State, they ran a play. They called timeout with 24 seconds left, which was kind of baffling. And they decided to kick the field goal anyways. Field goal went in. Florida State went up 18-16. So Nebraska, first I just want to go back and say, college football, I know you've seen it for those, in the 90s, like when someone makes perhaps a clinching game-winning play, like there's excessive celebration. That's what happened when Florida State got that field goal. There's excessive celebration. So Nebraska, they were going to get decent field position. They got the ball around the 43-yard line, their own 43-yard line. Tommie Frazier, this was with under 20 seconds left. Tommie Frazier made a nice pass to get the ball inside the Florida State 30-yard line. Now, the clock, they went down to zeros. Florida State, they went ahead, they drenched Coach Bobby Bowden with some water, thinking the game was over, but no. Of course, in college football, when you get a first down, the clock stops and move the chains. But Nebraska had a timeout left. They used that timeout. Nebraska lined up for the field goal, but they missed it, and thus Florida State went on. They won the game. They won the national championship, not Notre Dame. That's it. Those are the top 5 college football national championship games of the 90s. Thank you so much for your interest in this video. I kind of changed the setup a little bit. I don't have my green screen anymore, but thank you so much for everything. Appreciate it, and bye.
Real quick, I just want to thank all those who have supported 90 Sports Nostalgia. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and check out the links below for Patreon and merch. Thank you so much.